Folks, welcome to the program. This, of course, is Stinchfield, the podcast. The Democrats going crazy. President Trump is on a mission. Think about that. He goes to the Super Bowl. He not only declares the Gulf of America, now the Gulf of America, formerly known as the Gulf of Mexico. He does away with the penny, all while he's on a Super Bowl trip. So, again, he continues to upend Washington with little things like this. And then, of course, there's the big things like doing away with the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. This is Elizabeth Warren's little pet project. I'm going to go through some of that. But I think the most important thing to talk about now is the Democrats' desperation and what it means for all of you. I'm worried that they're going to go back to their old ways of embracing in violence, embracing the old tried and true Democrat way of creating chaos around the country in an effort to push back against President Trump. How do I know this? Well, you've got a pastor in Tennessee who all but says sometimes bloodshed is useful. Now, this will start to spread like wildfire. Then, of course, you've got Al Green, the congressman, who says we need to impeach President Trump. Now, there's not a lot of calls for impeachment, but there will be as the court cases continue to unfold. And I think on the Sunday morning talk shows, as you watch so many of these Democrat lawmakers just go full-on derangement syndrome, they're talking about the lawlessness of the Trump administration when there's nothing lawlessness about it. It's literally getting government under control, and they're defending things that everyday people don't want you defending. They don't want you defending spending 2 cents to make a penny that's only worth 1 cent. That doesn't make any sense. So, yes, do away with it. They're claiming that somehow sex changes in Guatemala is a national security risk. Nobody at home thinks like that, unless, of course, you're in Washington. So we're going to go through a lot of that today on the program. I'm going to play for you specifically the pastor and John Fetterman. This guy, is he a legitimate voice of reason inside the Democrat Party, or is this guy just trying to navigate a Trump presidency to keep as much power as possible? This is the question. I don't trust John Fetterman that he's not a radical leftist. I think he most likely is. I do trust him, though, when it comes to Israel. You know, he is Jewish. I think he sees the writing on the wall. And I think in many respects, he sees some of the common sense things that President Trump is doing. He's also navigating a situation where from Pennsylvania, you know, a blue state soon to turn red, really did turn red during the last election. He knows his future if he doesn't get in line. So we'll talk about Fetterman. We'll play some clips for him, which are really pretty eye-opening today as Stinchfield continues. Before we get there, though, you know, I always like to tell you about my friends over at Colonial Metals Group. I want to put some things in perspective as President Trump does his job. First off, freegoldguide.com/grant is a great spot to get your free gold guide. This will talk a lot about why gold makes a lot of sense right now. Even though DOJ is cutting spending, the real cuts need to come from Medicare and Social Security, and that's not happening anytime soon. Entitlements make up the largest portion of this. We've got a federal budget that is still out of control and members of Congress talking about not being able to cut spending in certain spots. So that's going to continue. We know that central banks around the country continue to buy gold, around the world continue to buy gold at record levels. We know that is continuing. And we know that gold went up during President Trump's last 4 years as well. So I would offer up as a portfolio protection maneuver, you want to have some money into gold. The Colonial Metals guys can tell you why. I urge you to talk to them. freegoldguide.com/grant or call them at 800-458-7356. The link is in the bio. You can pause this. You can click the little QR code right there on your screen as well. It's an important protection maneuver at a time when I think gold is going to continue to be the safe haven for smart money, and it looks like the smart money is putting it right there. freegoldguide.com/grant. Sign up today. All right. So there's this pastor in Tennessee who comes out and he says some pretty outrageous things. This, as President Trump, is making it known that he's not kidding around. He was given a mandate to cut spending, to get Washington under control, to drain the swamp, and he's doing just that. Well, Democrats are beside themselves. And I think mostly the Democrats outside of Washington that are beside themselves are beside themselves because President Trump is doing what he said he would do. He's having success at it. And there are many Americans, independents and Democrats included, that like what President Trump is doing. They can't have it. They flip out. So they say things like this.
And in this nation, I'm worried that we are on the verge of bloodshed. This is an attempt to take us back to a day that we do not want to go, and we will not go. Therefore, there will be conflict. I pray that the peace of God will win out and overcome the madness that is attempting to take over this nation.
What is the madness attempting to take over the nation? That you want to cut Guatemalan sex changes? What is the madness? That you don't want to spend millions of dollars on transgender mice? What is the madness? That you don't want many of these organizations, including CFPB, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, sending millions of dollars to Soros-funded agencies so they can fund a radical left agenda? That's the madness taking over Washington? I don't think so. This guy's totally out of touch with what's happening there. So he speaks in doublespeak. Watch out. There's going to be bloodshed. But, I'm a pastor. I can't promote that, so I'm going to pray for peace. But you better look out because things are coming to a head. But I'm going to pray for peace. You're a fraud, man. I hate to tell you. You are an absolute fraud. If you're a man of God and you're saying that there is a bloodshed and there's a time for bloodshed, no, there's not. Because someone's cutting spending in Washington, that means you should turn the people against the people? This guy's a joke.
And I will say to you, beloved, no one likes violence, but sometimes violence is necessary. When Elon Musk forces his way into the United States Treasury and threatens to steal your personal information and your Social Security check, there is the possibility of violence.
Now, here he does two things. He threatens us with violence, which I don't think that's very godly, by the way. And he lies. So we could maybe give him the benefit of the doubt that he's just uninformed. And he's listening to these lunatics in Washington spout off the lies, and he believes them. How is Elon Musk taking your Social Security check? President Trump has repeatedly said they're not touching Social Security, even though they need to, by the way. But he says they're not touching Social Security. Now, he found $91 million, something like that, being paid out to dead people. So I guess if you're a dead person and they take your check, that might happen. But I don't think any American's going to be upset with that. So where are you getting this information that Social Security is going to go away under President Trump and Elon Musk? It's not. It's a flat out lie. They've reiterated that, but they can't win the argument that we don't want to be paying dead people because who knows? Maybe some of those dead people are his family members and he wants the gravy train to continue. So now we've got a pastor who's threatened violence, a man of the cloth who has lied to the people, a man of the cloth who is swatting the bee's nest in order to stoke and stir chaos in America. That's not godly.
Sometimes the devil will act so ugly that you have no other choice but to get violent and fight. Well, someone might say, now, Reverend, you shouldn't be talking about violence.
Well, that was me. I just said that, Reverend, you shouldn't be talking about violence. But you are. So would you like to hear his response to my criticism of this so-called man of the cloth?
This isn't the Christian thing to do. Well, I will say, why not talk this way? Because Jesus did. Jesus said in this key verse, didn't he? The kingdom of heaven suffers what? Violence. And the who? The violent take it by force. The kingdom of God is a war zone. It is a battlefield. You did know this, right?
Yeah, I'm not sure Jesus wanted it that way, Pastor. And I think in many respects, you're twisting the words here. I don't think Jesus was saying, you know what, if you disagree with someone's political views, you go out and shed blood in the streets. No, it's not what he was saying. But this guy, because we're going to go in and you think Elon Musk needs your Social Security number? What is he going to do with it? He's going to steal your identity? Elon Musk and his 19-year-olds? Of course not. This idea that they have access to that anyway is ridiculous. He got security clearances of people that went in to go and look at the Department of Treasury. They got the necessary security clearances to be able to do that. There are government agents that have access to our Social Security numbers. DOJ is a legitimate government agency now. President Trump made it that way. He basically renamed another government agency and gave this as the main task of that one. So we didn't have to create one out of the blue. We just changed the mission a little bit in the name. Well, within President Trump's rights to do that. So let's play a little bit more of the crazies out there. We've got Al Green, who I've told you about, wants to impeach President Trump. Now, he will actively admit he's the only one on the impeachment train because they know it backfired on them. But President Trump isn't running again. So they know they're not going to get an impeachment through a Republican-controlled Congress and Senate right now. It wouldn't make any sense for them to do it. But Al Green is out there.
And I would add this. The president should be impeached. I said that on the floor of the House. He should be impeached. But I'm not saying that it would be necessarily for what happened in Gaza. There's a target-rich environment. There are many things that may be placed in these articles of impeachment. But it should be because he's unfit to be president. Unfit.
Now, unfit to be president, first off, the term fit means in shape, whether you're physically fit or mentally fit. He's clearly physically fit to be president. The last president we had was not. You have Caitlin Collins, who's a CNN, I believe, is where she is. She's was just on a late night program, basically saying how much stamina President Trump has, how their press is having a hard time keeping up. It's a 7-day-a-week operation in the White House, which it should be, by the way. You don't take weekends off, but that's what Joe Biden did. So don't talk about President Trump not being fit. He certainly is mentally fit and he's physical fit. Now, you may not agree with what he wants to do. Cut all your pet projects. Go after waste, fraud, and abuse. Get all those government workers to take buyouts. Do you know you've got unions in there blocking the buyout, not because they want to help their fellow union employees, but because they want to keep the union dues flowing? More Al Green.
And when these impeachment signs start going up around the country, when people see these signs, I assure you, the pressure.
That is about what the Democrats are worth. When you see these signs going up, a handwritten, it's not even an 8x10, a handwritten 3x5 card that says impeach President Trump. Oh, we should get real scared now. Now they mean business here.
These impeachment signs start going up around the country. When people see these signs, I assure you, the pressure is going to be on Congress to do something.
Oh, no. He's got the 3x5 index card that says impeach President Trump. Do something, Congress. Do something. No, I don't think so.
Impeachment doesn't mean that he will be removed from office, but it will say to the country that this is what we stand for. It's been said that the protests don't have a plan. Well, the plan is here. This is the plan. Protest, complain now, impeach later.
Let's get to calls because the lines have...
All right, so he's wrong on that. The callers actually call him out. I think I did that on the podcast last week, but he's wrong. President Trump is a truth teller. Is he a flamethrower? Yes. Is he doing what he said he should do? Yes. And I've got proof of that here in a second. This is President Trump over the weekend.
I don't know if it's kickbacks or what's going on, but the people, look, I ran on this, and the people want me to find it. And I've had a great help with Elon Musk, who's been terrific.
Bottom line, you say you trust him.
Trust Elon? Oh, he's not gaining anything. In fact, I wonder how he can devote the time to it. He's so into it. But I told him do that. Then I'm going to tell him very soon, like maybe in 24 hours, to go check the Department of Education. He's going to find the same thing. Then I'm going to go to the military. Let's check the military. We're going to find billions, hundreds of billions of dollars of fraud and abuse. And, you know, the people elected me on that.
Build muscle inside the military. You want to spend billions of dollars on F-35s and training the greatest war fighters the world has ever seen? Have at it. Don't spend billions of dollars on gold hammers. Don't spend billions of dollars on widgets that don't work. This is what's going on inside the Defense Department. Don't spend billions of dollars on studies. to try to figure out what's the best way to go about approaching a war. We know. We have generals that know all this stuff. You don't need studies for this. I promise you, inside the Pentagon, it is probably the most wasteful organization on earth. Now, Republicans have always said, well, we don't want to cut defense. I don't want to cut defense either. I want to, if anything, if there's one budget I would increase the defense budget. If I had to pick one to increase, I would increase the defense budget. But that doesn't mean I wouldn't cut all the waste, fraud, and abuse. I would put the increases to fighting capabilities, to warfare machines, training Navy SEALs and Green Berets, and finding the best technological advances known to mankind to combat our enemies on a battlefield and on the technological battlefield as well. But get rid of the waste, fraud, and abuse inside the Pentagon, which there is a lot of. Nobody can dispute that. So President Trump doing what he does best over the weekend. He was very, very, very busy. And this was him giving a little smackdown to a Huffington Post reporter. I thought it was worth playing for you because this is why we elected President Trump. This is what we love. This is the entertainment factor of him.
The Vice President suggested that if the Supreme Court rules in a way that you don't like, they can just enforce it by themselves. Do you agree with that?
I don't know even what you're talking about. Neither do you. Who are you with?
Up close, sir.
Who?
Up close.
Oh, no wonder. I thought they died. Are they still around? I haven't read them in years. I thought they died. All right, go ahead. Who else?
I thought the HuffPost died. I thought you were dead like a doornail. You got to love it. So the Huffington Post reporter, what is the Huffington Post reporter even doing on Air Force One? I don't know. All right, so I have proof for you that what President Trump is doing is what the American people want. It's not what the Democrats want, and I have proof of you of that as well. But I'm going to show you this proof in just a moment. But before I do that, I want to tell you about my friends over at get21now.com. When you're thinking about investing, you need to have a diversified portfolio. I love the idea of Bitcoin, but I hate the wild swings. I hate the ups and downs. It makes my stomach sick. Not into it. But here's what I love about Get21 Now. I've invested in Bitcoin mining. I get locked in 21% annualized interest on my money, paid monthly, direct deposited into my account. While they mine the Bitcoin, I don't hands off. I don't have to deal with anything. At the end of the month, I get that money deposited directly into my account. It's a contractual agreement. They basically rent equipment from me, and I don't have to buy the equipment. They handle everything. And I know these guys personally. So it's not some fly-by-night internet thing that I got off or somebody just called me out of the blue. I know these guys, and I've invested with them. Just like everything I push here. I know them, I use them, and I believe in them. Get21now.com, get21now.com. Lock into up to 21% annualized interest on your money, paid monthly, no overhead, no payroll, no anything. It's a great deal. The name of the company is NFN8. And when they call you back after you fill out the form, either answer the phone or call them back because there's a lot of response to this. But it's just wasteful time when you sign up and then don't answer the call. Answer the call. These guys are really, really good people, and I think you'll be impressed talking to them. My man Corey will give you a call, get21now.com. Get21now.com. Do what I did and start sleeping and making that money. All right. I told you I have proof that President Trump is doing the right thing. The proof is in the polling. Not always. I don't put a lot of stock in polling, but on this one, I do. Maybe because it's in our favor, maybe because it makes a lot of sense.
Our CBS poll finds that a majority of Americans, 53%, approve of the job he's doing. That's a better approval number than he ever reached during his first term in the White House. Joining us with more is our Executive Director of Elections and Surveys, Anthony Salvanto. Good to see you, Anthony.
All right, so I want to play a little more of Anthony, but think about this. 53% of Americans agree with President Trump, approve of his agenda. 53% to 47%. That's the highest approval rating President Trump has ever had. Now, it still tells me that we're a 50-50 country, right? We're a very, very split down the middle country, except these small increments of gaining on approval for President Trump's agenda, which the Democrats are telling us is radical. Cutting what I would describe as radical spending is not radical, but the Democrats will tell you it's radical. The people are saying it's not. Now, the poll gets even more interesting here. And this tells me why the Democrats are so wrong about what they're out there pounding the drum on.
Driving this.
I will keep it simple, Margaret. He is doing, in the eyes of the public, what he said he would do in the campaign. There's political value in that. In fact, 70% of people say he's doing what he promised. That's whether they approve of him or not.
So think about that. 70% of the people surveyed said President Trump is doing what he campaigned on. 30% say he's doing differently than what he promised. But I don't know who the other 30 is. Maybe Democrats who just don't want to admit it. Maybe Republicans who want more. 70% of Americans say he's doing what he promised. Now, what that tells me is we're not getting any surprises. This isn't like he came into office and then all of a sudden Elon's here and Doge is the thing. He talked about doing all of this on the campaign trail. He's doing exactly what he promised. Promises made, promises kept. Now, this poll, like the reporter said, it doesn't mean they agree with what he's doing. It only means they realize this is what he promised. The American people elected Donald Trump for a reason, and it is to do exactly what he's doing, hence the 70% number.
Now, there's another part of this that continues over from the campaign. There were words that he was described as being tough, being energetic, and he still is today in big majority numbers. So as people take a look in these first few weeks, there's been a lot of activity. They're getting that general sense of governance, and that's being reflected in these early numbers.
So that's perception. What about the actual policies?
Well, let's start with the ones that are popular. And again, these echo a lot of what we saw in the campaign. The idea of deporting those in the country illegally continues to be popular. We saw.
Look at that. 59% approve, 41% disapprove of the deport illegal aliens. 59%, that is huge. Now, we were told by Democrats that we're all racist. Apparently not. The whole country racist? No, we just want people to follow the law. That's all. Follow the freaking law. Common sense. Common sense solutions. Common sense solutions promised. Common sense solutions delivered. By and large, the people are on board with President Trump.
That in the campaign. Sending troops to the U.S.-Mexico border. Again, majority in favor. We'd seen that in the campaign. For his supporters in particular, the focus on ending DEI is popular. We had seen in the campaign a lot of them thought those processes had gone too far.
What's interesting is the deportation number and the send troops to the border number. This was where the Democrats drew the line in the sand during the campaign, one of them. Transgender agenda was another. DEI. Those were the three big ones that when you have a 53% approval rating, that's basically the margin of victory for the presidential race. The people who voted for him like what he's doing. The people that didn't don't. So hence we're 53-47. But there's more at play because if you're getting up around the 63% number, 64% sending U.S. troops to the border, and you've got 59% approve of deportations. Well, now the people that say they don't approve of the job he's doing actually approve of some of the job he's doing. Otherwise, you couldn't get to that number. So they're not being honest. To me, the approval rating for President Trump may be more around 60% than the 53%. But you don't get there because people don't want to be honest or admit that he's better. That may be the real deal in all of this. They just don't want to admit it. So what about John Fetterman? John Fetterman, I'm trying to figure out this guy. When he first ran, I told you he's a radical. And he was. Like, he had some radical ideas. Well, then Pennsylvania flips, right? President Trump wins. And you're like, is he just doing this because he knows the tide is turning in Pennsylvania? Or as he's recovered from his stroke, is he waking up and was he red-pilled? Maybe a little bit of that. Maybe it's a little bit of both. Maybe it's something in the middle. But either way, He's coming out and saying what Democrats refuse to admit, and I think he's spot on with his comments.
Senator Fetterman, I enjoyed you on Joe Rogan. I thought you had some really interesting insights on the election. And one of the things that you've discussed is how Democrats lost some gains that they needed to make with young men across the board. And you said that there was a perception that they could be condescending or insulting. Can you explain what you meant by that? And how do you think Democrats need to be talking to men in a way that perhaps they weren't this cycle?
Oh, yeah, no, I mean, it's become more and more difficult. It forces men to kind of choice, can I really remain a Democrat? And some of the kinds of the tone in those kinds of situations, it's undeniable. I've witnessed that over the last 8 years, and Trump has a really strong connection with a lot of these unions as well now, too. And it was very clear that we've lost a lot of that. That migration has already been well underway. And here we are now. And now whether it's bros or the manosphere and all these, clearly those are negative kinds of terms. And if you talk down with them or you make them part of the problem, or it's all because of you and your fault, then of course they're going to find an alternative. And that's what they've done that.
So you see what he's saying? The bros, and it's the podcast crowd, right? Joe Rogan kind of falls into that, clearly a dude podcaster, but it's that younger crowd, that President Trump really harnessed. And they embraced President Trump. But I think they embraced President Trump because they were tired of the demasculinization of America. They were tired of the wussification of America. They were tired of Democrats wanting to turn everybody into women. That's the bottom line. That's what they wanted to do. They wanted to blur the line between the sexes. And so young people started pushing back. And even legal aliens to the United States, people who immigrated here legally, they turned on the Democrat Party because they said, we paid so much money into this system to try to do it the right way, and people are just going to sneak in. This isn't right. You're putting law-abiding citizens at the back of the line. President Trump found $59 million FEMA paid to house illegal aliens in high-priced hotels in New York City. This is Elon Musk, one of their Doge deals. $59 million for high-priced hotels. We've got American citizens in California who all voted, by the way, for Joe Biden and this wild spending for illegals. They don't have homes. They were affected by wildfires. And they're not all these Malibu mansions, by the way. There's some very modest areas. They can't get housing. Now, we could debate all the way what the government's role is. How much should they be putting up American citizens? I could tell you this. They certainly shouldn't be putting up illegal aliens. And if they're going to put up illegal aliens, well, American citizens most definitely need to be put to the front of that line. If you're going to spend $59 million, I'd rather it be on American citizens in Los Angeles who lost their homes than on illegal aliens who snuck into the country. And that exact assessment is what the everyday Joe is seeing. And they're saying, you know what? The Democrats have lost it.
And, I believe in having a conversation on anyone that's playing it straight. I'm delighted. I'm happy to be on your show or with Joe Rogan. I'm a fan of his as well, too, or Bill Maher, all of these people. I think having a conversation with anyone that wants to play it straight, I think we should be talking to as many people as possible. And it's undeniable the Democrats have lost a lot with men. And I'm not sure where we're able to bring that back without a long-term kind of a strategy to re-engage them, because it's undeniable. There's been serious erosion.
All right, so this is interesting. Because I said on the radio this morning, I do radio out in Los Angeles, AM 870 in the mornings. You can watch us, too, on Rumble, The Morning Answer. Type that in. You can watch it. It's a good show. 9 to 12 Eastern time. My co-host, Jen Horn. I said I want to get John Fetterman on this podcast. I would like to talk to him. I would like to try to dig into where he is on this. Is he real? Is he a liberal? Is he radical? I think a conversation with me and him for an hour, I could get to the bottom of where he really stands. Would he do that with me? Now, he just exposed what he wants to do. He says he wants to go on these podcast style shows, whether it's Joe Rogan or Bill Maher's not a podcast, but kind of. I don't think my podcast falls into the bros segment of the population, but maybe. But if I invite him on, am I helping him then try to turn the young people watching this program back to them? I don't think they will, because I don't think he's got an argument to bring them back. And I think even his trying to is one sole voice in a party that has gone off the deep end. Whether he's legit or not, it doesn't really even matter, because his party is completely off the deep end. Here's Betty Duncan in the Facebook chat. He's come a long way in his speech and talking. God is good, I guess is what it was supposed to say. Fetterman was fraudulently installed, just as Hunter Biden. I do not trust him. Tammy, that's probably smart. That's Tammy Roscoe in the Facebook channel. In Rumble, Lydia writes, Trump is the right president for, I don't know what that is. Trump is the right president. Love American. I don't know. It's some of these new letters that say certain things that I don't understand. The internet chat talk. Rocky in Florida writes, hey, Grant, the State Department post all foreign spending. And he gives the website there. Do you have a research team? Maybe you can make it go viral. If I can help further the RAV mods know me. Well, cool, Rocky. I will look at that and check out what we did. Yes, we have a small team that helps in research. Not as big as I've had in the past, but we have a small team that can help. Honestly, I do most of the research myself on things like this, but I will most certainly look into it. All right. Thank you, Rocky. All right, folks. I'm going to get into some of the crazies on the Sunday morning talk shows. Okay. What is it with their defense of lunacy? Please, somebody tell me before we do that. You know, one of my favorite sponsors of this program is the official communications provider of Stinchfield's Army. It's Patriot Mobile. I use Patriot Mobile for my cell phone service. You pick the network you want to be on. These are patriots that run this company through and through. They believe in the things we believe in. It is America's only Christian conservative wireless provider. For that reason alone, they don't practice in wacky DEI. They're not donating to Planned Parenthood. In fact, they donate to other great causes like free speech organizations, the National Rifle Association, Folds of Honor. You name it. If there's a conservative cause where I'm going to a charitable event, Patriot Mobile is almost always there. And so that's the kind of company I want to be around. That's the company I want to use. And I do. And service is great, especially customer service, 100% U.S.-based customer service. So I'm going to ask you this now. If you haven't switched to Patriot Mobile, I'm going to simply ask you why. Are you afraid that the service isn't as good? It's not a fear. The network is still the same. So if you're on the AT&T network, you stay on the AT&T network. If you're on Verizon, you stay on Verizon. Or you do what I do, have two networks on one phone. It's called the Patriot One plan, one phone, two lines, which is great. PatriotMobile.com/Grant. That's the website. Link is in the description. PatriotMobile.com/Grant. Or you can call them at 972-PATRIOT, 972-PATRIOT, and you tell them that Grant Stinchfield sent you. All right. So, yes, they have gone nuts. This is Senator Kim from New Jersey. I believe that's who this is. Let me play his nonsensical arguments on Meet the Press over the weekend.
What we're seeing right now with the Trump administration over the last week is just very clearly an American retreat when it comes to the rest of the world. Handing this over, like China doesn't even need to fight for their influence around the world now because of our own effort. We're doing China's work for them.
Now, wait a second. If Trump is doing China's work for them, why did Trump just put tariffs down? And now he's coming out with more tariffs on steel, by the way, which he did the last time around. And so this argument of prices going up, we didn't see it before. So stop with that. And it's not a trade war either. It's literally just about leveling the playing field. That's not a war. That's called gardening. All right. So President Trump issues tariffs on China. China issues the tariffs back on us. How is this doing the bidding of China? China will be more devastated by this than us. We're the ones that run a deficit to China. Why are they tariffing us? We run a huge deficit. It's not going to even dent our business with them, but it will dent their business to us.
And I hope that the American people understand just how dire a situation this is going to be, something that makes it more likely that we see conflicts, may have to use our own troops. And also, this is something that affects our ability to be able to access other markets, to grow our economy. So this has very tangible impacts, and this is going to be devastating to our nation's national security.
Does anybody know what this guy does for a living other than be a United States senator? Ding Dong Central. None of these Democrats understand how a free market economy works. So what is he talking about here? How is this going to make it unable for us to enter certain markets? And now you're going to say there's going to be troops involved? President Trump has made it clear he wants to end foreign wars, not start them. Now, he made this comment about the Riviera in the Middle East, and I love it. And we're going to have Maragazo, and I'll maybe join first membership. It's a beautiful area if you could fix it up. Level it out, fix it. You think we're sending troops over to Gaza? There's not a chance in hell that happens. No way. President Trump is using this as a bargaining chip to get the sides talking about a solution. And a two-state solution is not the solution, by the way. It's for a different topic for a different day. But again, you're not going to see President Trump sending troops over there. So this, Senator Andy Kim continued.
My next question, because your colleague Jeff Merkley basically said he's prepared to try to shut down the government over some of these sledgehammer actions that he's seeing by Elon Musk. Are you prepared to shut down the government, to join Democratic colleagues who want to?
All right, first off, do it. What President Trump has just proved is we don't really need the United States Congress to start the process of cutting spending. President Trump can do a lot of it from the Oval Office and executive orders and telling people how to manage the business, their agencies. Now, it would be nice to codify all of this with legislation, get Congress on board. It would shore up President Trump's stature in any court cases that come about. But we don't need him. Shut him down. I had Congressman Obernolte on the radio program today. He's a nice guy, but he's a California Republican. And he's talking about how he's not going to vote for the tax plan for President Trump unless it also has tax cuts codified in the legislation. Now, in a perfect world, I'm all for that. Tax cuts and cut spending. Do it all at once, both sides. Don't do one without the other. That's in a perfect world. We don't live in a perfect world. So as a Republican, if I can get tax cuts, that's first. Because I'm giving relief to the people, and I'm going to go under the understanding and under the thought process that if I can get tax cuts, we're going to get more taxpayers into the system, because that's going to give relief to not just the taxpayers, but also business owners. Tax on overtime is a huge one. When I owned my auto care business, employed 15 guys, I'd had a lot of overtime I paid. Man, if I didn't have to pay payroll tax on overtime, well, maybe I could have hired somebody else. Maybe I could have invested in something, another piece of equipment. Somebody's got to build that piece of equipment I invest in. You cut taxes, and by the way, the guys working overtime, now they're making an extra $5 an hour when they work overtime. That starts to add up at the end of the week. Now maybe they're going out to dinner where they weren't before. Now restaurants have to hire more people because more people are coming in. All of this is a giant wheel that feeds itself and start spurring the economy. And lo and behold, yeah, you cut taxes, but you have more taxpayers now. The number of jobs increase. But this Congressman Obernolte says, oh, well, that's dynamic scoring. We static score. And I said to him, you're a congressman. You've been in Washington too long. Nobody gives a fuck, excuse my language, about whether or not you have dynamic scoring, static scoring. Nobody cares. What they care about is what's real, what will work, what's legitimate, what experience tells you. Oh, well, I was a business owner. Well, then if you're a business owner, you don't need static scoring or dynamic scoring. Just go in there and vote what you know to be true as a real conservative. And if you can't get everything, vote for the tax cut. Because, look, President Trump in 2.5 weeks has cut billions of dollars from the budget, more than the United States Congress had done for decades of me sitting around watching them. Do you know I've never had a year where I watched Congress actually cut spending? I have seen them cut the rate of the increase, but that's not a spending cut. That's only cutting the amount of the increase. that's another little dirty secret Washington doesn't want to talk about either. This cut the rate of the increase is not spending cuts. Oh, it's so frustrating, man. It's literally maddening. Cat B in Texas says, shut it down. We won't miss them. I agree with you, Cat B. Thank you for being in here and watching. All of you. Is this John Soto in the Rumble chat? Says Democrats should be held accountable for treason and face the death sentence. If you engage in treasonous behavior, that is the penalty, isn't it? Though the Democrats are the ones talking about violence, not me. Though that would be a punishment by a court of law, not an angry mob in the streets, which is apparently what Democrats want.
Stand in the way of keeping the government open?
Well, you have to look at what the Trump administration is doing right now. They are simply trying to, they are simply trying to dismantle the government. So yes, look, if we have to take steps to be able to hold them accountable, use the leverage that we have to force it, I cannot support efforts that will continue this lawlessness that we're seeing when it comes to this administration's actions.
What's lawlessness? What did he do that's against the law? Is it the executive actions that have you so angry? He has privilege as the executive, as the CEO of the government, to direct his agencies to function in a way that he sees fit. Now, I understand you could make the argument that if Congress is in charge of the purse strings and they dictate money to be spent someplace, that it may take legislation to dictate where that money goes. But the things we're talking about is not that. We're talking about waste, fraud, and abuse and putting a pause on the spending until we can figure out the waste, fraud, and abuse. And if it's fraudulent, nobody wants us spending money on it. So President Trump puts a pause on all this spending.
And for us to be able to support government funding in that way, only for them to turn it around to dismantle the government, that is not something that should be allowed.
So just to be clear, Senator, you are open to voting yes to shut down the government, to make this point.
This is on them. This is about whether or not they can get the votes. They are the majority. And if they cannot govern, then you know, that's for the American people to see. But I've worked in government. I've worked through multiple government shutdowns. I would be the last person to want to get to that stage.
You see, he just admits it. I've worked in government. I've worked through multiple government shutdowns, which means, dude, you have no freaking clue what the American people want. You have no idea what the American people deserve. That's why you're a Democrat. And all you're concerned about are your slush fund projects. Again, they're claiming this is some kind of a national security risk, that President Trump wants to stop spending money on transgender mice. So transgender mice, sex changes in Guatemala, fair and equitable hiring practices in Nigeria. This is all national security issues? Come on, man. These people are insane. Oh, speaking of insane, how about Ilhan Omar? She was on Face the Nation. Why do they interview these people?
Yeah, I mean, what we are witnessing is a constitutional crisis. We are seeing an executive branch that has decided that they are no longer going to abide by the Constitution in honoring Congress's role.
You know what's a constitutional crisis? When you have sex with your brother. That's a constitutional crisis, and then you're elected as a member of Congress. It's disgusting. So she wants to upend everything America is about, and she's pissed that some of this USAID money that was funding going straight back to Gaza, going straight back to the Palestinians, going straight back to Hamas. She's upset that's been cut out because she wanted the American taxpayer to fund terrorists that want America destroyed. That's the constitutional crisis, that we have people like this in office.
In the creation of the agencies, in their role in deciding where money is allocated.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable. And they give her a platform. To me, it's literally, I don't know. It's borderline disgusting that they give her a platform. Here's Chris Murphy. This is another one. Talking about what they want to do to President Trump. They're so out of touch with the American people.
Listen, I think this is the most serious constitutional crisis the country has faced.
Oh, boy. So you see what we have here? Talking points. So the talking points went out. They get a sheet, talk about constitutional crisis. You're going to hear everybody using this term now.
Certainly since Watergate, the president is attempting to seize control of power and for corrupt purposes.
Is it not corrupt that we had the United Nations housing Hamas and we were sending money to UNRWA to house Hamas fighters, that's not corrupt. So you're upset that the corruption is to stop the spending, not send spending to your friends, family, and cronies, but to stop it altogether. That's the corruption you're upset about? I'm just getting this straight, Murphy.
The president wants to be able to decide how and where money is spent so that he can reward his political friends, he can punish his political enemies. That is the evisceration of democracy.
That's what Biden did. Again, the projection is stunning. Not really. We see it happen all the time. Where has President Trump rewarded his political friends? Where? Everything he's done has been to limit government spending, not push government spending to your friends and family, like Joe Biden did, by the way, using his position of power to go infiltrate China. Think about the Green New Scam. The Green New Scam, every billionaire had money in the solar panels and the wind turbines and all this, and it was all getting fed back to them. Why? So they could donate more money back to the Biden crew and even more spend money with the Biden LLCs. So that's Chris Murphy. So who does the media go to then to back up the politicians? Because they know that my argument is right, that, hey, this isn't how the American people feel. So they go try to find Americans that back up these Democrat politicians. But they don't realize that when they go find the person that's actually working in government doing the stupid work, that's not going to resonate with us either. But again, the mainstream media is out of touch. So ABC goes and talks to a green-haired government worker with a nose ring. Nothing says, I'm a liberal, like green hair and a nose ring. Nothing says, look at me, when you have green hair and a nose ring. And then they'll push this whole nonsense that we shouldn't be so concerned about looks when literally you tried to destroy how you look. And then tell me, don't talk about how I look when you actively tried to destroy how you look. Here's what I'm talking about.
Can lead to individuals having to leave graduate programs, having to leave positions before they are ready, not having positions to go to. And this can really derail our academic careers.
Oh, no. It can derail your academic career. You don't have another position to go to study transgender mice. Well, I'm sorry. How about you go occupy a cubicle in a real business that's doing something of good? Because right now, I promise you, these people are not studying things that we probably need studied. And don't get me wrong, we need researchers. We need people coming up with new drugs. There is a role for big pharma. I just want a big pharma that isn't in bed with government, that is so focused on money alone. You need a balance, right? So big pharma and the mainstream media have something very similar in common because they both serve, or supposed to serve. Okay, this is the key. They're both supposed to serve a greater purpose for the community. So the mainstream media should take you places you can't go, report on news you didn't hear about, hold government officials accountable. All these things are very important, but they also have to make money in order to support these things. And they are for-profit companies, so you can't say, well, don't make any money. Now they have to be paid by certain groups. Now you run into, well, can I really do a story on an auto manufacturer because they're the ones that are funding the auto commercials, and so you run into these gray areas. Big pharma is just like the media. It does serve a purpose to the greater good. I mean, we need drugs to knock out diseases that would one time kill you, right? I mean, I'm so grateful we have penicillin and other antibiotics, ivermectin, which has turned out to be a miracle drug. We need pharma to come up with these drugs. But here's what happens. Big pharma then becomes so focused on the money, they come up with drugs that don't work, or they don't care about that. They just are focused on the money. So it's the same way with media. They become so focused on the money, they don't care that you know what? The auto dealer that you're advertising all day long is taking money from old ladies and they're scamming people out of their cars, and you're still giving them a platform. Like, when does some set of morals come into play here that something needs to change? So this is it. Like, these researchers with the green hair and the nose ring, what are you researching that you're so concerned that you need to go find another job at another school and the government money is going to dry up, so now you don't have a job.
My research here at Berkeley focuses on environmental surveillance for intestinal parasites in both.
Environmental surveillance for intestinal parasites. I don't know. Drink clean water. That's the bottom line. Got to have clean water to drink. I wish I had one of those filter companies I could advertise, because this is where I'd say, you know what, put a filter underneath your sink in the kitchen.
India and in Benin.
Oh, wait a second.
Part of my
what?
worry is.
Hold on. You hear that? This is important. So she's focused on parasites, intestinal parasites, and all this government money is going to it. But it's not intestinal parasites here. It's overseas. I'm the one who picked this clip, and I can't believe I didn't realize this.
In both India and in Benin. Part of my worry is that since I'm on this diversity supplement as a diverse individual, that my funding may be cut.
Wait, as a diverse individual, what's your diversity? What? Look at this woman. What is diverse about her? So her funding will be cut because she's on the diversity. So we're giving her money because is she transgender? What is she? Is she openly lesbian so you get more money? And things you're researching are researching freaking parasites in Nairobi? It never ends. Just when you think you're amazed enough, it keeps going. Going and going and going and going and going. President Trump and Elon Musk have their work cut out for them, man. I will tell you what, they really, really, really do. Oh, geez. Folks, you know my friends at the wellness company? Here's what, since we're talking about big pharma, the wellness company is great. You know, they make these kits. I got one here. They make these kits. There's ivermectin in here. I don't even want to say old-fashioned prescription medications, antivirals, antiparasitics that you need, but the stuff that works here. Fluconazole, right? That's what this is. I don't even know what it does, but there's a guidebook in here to tell me what it does. I've got ivermectin in here. I've got, what are these green pills? Doxycycline. Oh, that's a good antibiotic. So everything you need in here to keep your family safe. You need one of these kits. If you don't have one, I'm telling you, you're behind the eight ball, and your family is not totally safe. Everything we've seen with whether it's wildfires or floods or hurricanes or tornadoes like we get in Texas, it could shut down a drugstore at any minute. So you got to have drugs on hand with your food, your water, your ammunition, all those other things. TWC.health/grant. Use the promo code GRANT. TWC.health/grant. Use the promo code GRANT. And, one more. If you're really inclined, they got the field kit, which is freaking awesome. This is even a bigger kit than the one I just showed you. There's an EpiPen in here. There's like steroid inhalers in here. There's everything you need to keep your family safe. So TWC.health/grant. Use that promo code GRANT. And you're not going to regret it. I promise you. You really aren't. You remember I told you that Caitlin Collins was talking about how hard President Trump is working? This is the difference between being in the media under Joe Biden. At least she gives him props for actually working.
So you're doing this every day. You're in D.C.
Yes.
The pace of the Trump administration seems to be moving pretty quickly. How are you holding up?
It is insane. And I think everyone is kind of like readjusting and re-remembering what it was like 4 years ago, 4 years ago. I remember when Biden first took office in January, the New York Times wrote the story about how quiet the weekends were, because for reporters, every weekend had just been like it was like a 7-day work week. And now we're back to that, basically, where it's just essentially nonstop every day. You kind of wake up like not knowing what you're going to be doing, what the schedule is. I was walking to get breakfast one day this week. I was like, okay, I'm going to have a nice little breakfast before I go to work. And halfway there, they were like, Trump's doing a press conference in an hour. And I physically ran back home so I could change and get ready.
But think about it. Trump's doing a he does a news conference everywhere he goes. He had people come into the Air Force One office, which Biden would never do. And he holds a news conference there. He'll talk to anybody, anytime, any place, anywhere. Then he goes to the Super Bowl. I mean, they use the term Energizer Bunny, but that's what he is. Speaking of the Super Bowl, my favorite part, I don't know about you, but this was my favorite. I did not really enjoy the Super Bowl. I don't want to say, a lot of people are, it was the worst game ever. Well, look, you can't blame that on the Eagles. The Eagles are trying to win by as much as they can. It's not our fault that the Chiefs played like dog crap. I think they were just going in too confident, by the way. I think this is what happens when you think you're on top of the world and you lose focus. That's what happened to Mahomes and Kelsey. Dude, who do you think you are with your stupid outfits walking in and your girlfriend who got booed? Look, I am not a fan of Taylor Swift. I think sometimes she looks like a wet rat. Don't get me wrong, she's pretty and all, but I don't know. She's not my style, that's for sure, and I don't like what she's done with her politics. So they got booed. She got booed. And that was really a blue for Travis Kelce. And yes, that glare. The glare was kind of funny, though, actually, as she's getting booed. That's the glare at the camera. She knows oh boy. She actually handled it somewhat well. She's not used to that, though. And Kelce has like the worst game of his life because I think he was going to ask her to marry her after the game. That gets canceled. Will he even marry her? I don't know. I doubt it. Then you had this cat. So I don't even know who this guy was, the singer for the halftime show. Roger Goodell needs to be fired. You can't have Jay-Z producing these things. The ghetto halftime show is passé. The Black Lives Matter movement has moved on. We don't need all this. We don't need the Black National Anthem. They sang that again. Can't we just all be Americans? But I say that because what do you think the percentage of people watching the game? I'm curious if you want to put this in the chat. What do you think the percentage of the games, a percentage of people watching the game, one, knew this performer, and even more, knew what he was saying and knew what it was about, and even three, could understand what he was saying? Turn the TV off. Couldn't he have started that at the beginning of the show? Turn the TV off? What's he saying there? I heard something about deceit. All that. I don't know anything else beyond that. I was going to try to put it, and I use this editing software when I do my social media posts that'll put the captions in. And I was going to see if the computer system could read the captions, could understand how to put captions in for that, just to prove that the computer can't even understand what he's saying. And look, I grew up in New York. I played football all the way through college. I've been in and around black folks a lot. When I worked in mainstream TV, I spent a lot of time in the ghetto, okay? A lot of the crimes that were occurring, I spent a lot of time there. As a upper middle class white man, I can understand ghetto like the best of them. Like, I can't really speak ghetto great, but I can understand it. People be like, "What did he just say?" I'm like, "Oh, I'm that old school style pimp way. I could translate it for you." This guy, I can't translate it for you. I don't know what he was saying. And if I don't know, I promise you, most people out there don't know.
Turn this TV off. Turn this TV off.
Well, that I know.
Turn this TV off. Turn this.
L.A. yelling basta. Now, basta in Italian means enough. Is that what, is he doing the Italian? My grandfather used to say that. Basta, basta, basta. Not pasta, basta with a B. Enough, enough, enough. No, I don't want to hear it anymore. Maybe. I don't know. Then he's got the thing with Drake going on, apparently. Who knows? Yes, Marky Mark says Trump was cheered, Swift was booed. And the fact that Trump was cheered like he was at the Super Bowl, especially during the national anthem when he was saluting, and I should have cut it. I didn't. To me, there was a much better halftime show that they could have had. They could have done this as a halftime show. This would have been great.
Young man, there's no need to young man. I said, young man, pick yourself up.
I promise you, they would have had more people dancing in the stands with that as the halftime show. Guaranteed. I don't know. Roger Goodell, just get out of the way, please. Congratulations to Philadelphia Eagles. I'd never been an Eagles fan. You know, I grew up in New York, so yeah, you'd hate the Eagles. I'm a Cowboys fan, so obviously hate the Eagles. Philadelphia is such a wacky city. You saw all the rioting, protesting, and all those things that happened. I don't call it protesting. It was basically rioting, pushing down life. I don't understand. You win a game, you decide to just go destroy things. Never been my cup of tea. I don't get it. Typically, it's blue cities. I will say this. Growing up in New York, I was always proud of New York. New York's not a rioting town. They don't really riot in New York like they do in L.A., Philly, Boston. Those cities riot. Atlanta. Dallas, we don't have a lot of riots either. I don't know. Maybe it's because we have strong police force in these. At least New York used to. Not so much anymore, but New York used to. Dallas still does. I don't know. That's going to do it for us, folks. Don't forget, tonight, the Real America's Voice show, 7 p.m. Eastern time. Love for you to be there. We have great shows, and I love every minute of my time on Real America's Voice. So check us out there, 7 p.m. Eastern time. Stinchfield's Army rolls. Thanks to all of you. We will see you tomorrow, same time, right here. God bless all of you.